Let's get started. Calling the meeting to order here at 8:03, or I'm sorry, 7:03, on the 4th of May. This is the meeting of the Fire Mitigation Advisory Committee. I think I've called the roll. We've got Rich, Dan, David, and Kelly. Hopefully Kelly will be coming back to her seat here in just a minute. I don't know what happened there. So a Pledge of Allegiance. Do you want to give us the flag?
Yeah, sorry, I always forget.
Oh, I see. That's what you were trying to do.
Yeah. Let me darn it, sorry.
$49.95.
There we go. It's a little more like it.
All right. I pledge allegiance
Allegiance to the flag of the United States
of America
and to the
republic
for which
for
it
which
stands,
it stands,
one nation
under God, indivisible,
with
with liberty
and justice
justice
for all.
Okay, thanks everybody. Next on our agenda, I think, is the any additions, deletions, or corrections to our agenda tonight. Look at this real quick. I think we're in pretty good order here. You know, I think a lot of stuff that we've got on here is going to fit together with other stuff, so I'm not going to really worry a lot about making changes here. I think there's going to be a lot of discussion that comes up on some of these that we'll just talk about. And I'm glad we have Mayor Dixon on, and I'm glad we have because I think we're gonna have some issues that we need to get clear with Todd tonight that will help all of us. Let's look at the minutes. Oh, wait a minute. Do we have anybody signed up that wants to speak, Nate?
No one signed up, but if there's anyone on that wants to speak now. Looks like Todd.
I might want to say just a couple quick words, if that's okay.
Yeah, go ahead.
You know, I'd like the Fire Mitigation Committee to kind of start thinking about maybe some items where we could start developing a master plan. It's the goal to try to get us basically board and Fire Mitigation Committee together at some point to start working on that, developing that master plan. And then, you know, once the idea is once we get a master plan approved, then we can just proceed on according to that plan. So yeah, if there's things that, you know, you're thinking of, then I encourage you to start maybe kind of documenting those, and then hopefully in the not too distant future, we'll be getting together as a combined group and work session to start kind of developing the plans.
Okay.
That's all I had.
Thanks, Todd. Anybody else?
May I ask a question?
Sure.
I watched the presentation that Nate, I guess, put together, the fire mitigation at Sally Bush the other night. I watched it on YouTube. I thought a lot of the information was really good. I thought it was a good presentation. I just wondered how many people came to that. Did you have a good turnout?
Yeah, it was, I don't even have a sign up sheet or anything, but I'd estimate about 40 or so. What do you think, Todd?
I think we had over 30 there and 24 on Zoom. So I think total we probably had well over 50.
Well, that's good.
Yeah, I think Zoom, I may have misspoke on the Zoom count. I think we had about a dozen on Zoom. And so a little lower than that, but
Are you talking about Zoom or YouTube? I didn't know it was on Zoom.
it was on Zoom and the Zoom video was uploaded to YouTube.
Okay. Okay.
So yeah, so there was, but it was pretty full. I mean, we had several tables out, and so yeah, I'd say right around 40, 45 mark total.
You're probably helped by the fact that you had a fire going not far from you, or there was big fire danger just before that. I think a lot of people were that probably woke up a lot of people there.
Yeah.
Okay,
Okay,
thanks. That's all I
Luke-
wanted.
Okay, thanks. Let's move to the minutes from March 28th. There's some items in there that I want to make sure we come back to tonight. But I read through them and I did not see anything that needed change or correction, deletion, or any of those kind of things. I don't know about Dan and Rich or Kelly, if y'all have any comments on the minutes.
Nope, they looked okay to me.
Okay. Then do we have a motion to approve?
And Kelly just moved. I'll second.
And all in favor, aye.
Aye.
All right. Let's see here. Back to our agenda. What was next on the agenda? The evacuation checklist. This is an item that we had a lot of discussion about in our last meeting. And this was, this actually goes back a year. Rich had developed the evacuation plan that has been adopted and is posted. And Rich at the time had also developed an evacuation checklist, which was more of a pre-evacuation. It's to help people get organized, get ready, gives people some guidance on what's going to be the priority the day that we have a fire and we're told to evacuate. They should already have all of their stuff together. And we never have gotten around to adopting that. And we had we devoted a lot of time to this in our last meeting. So we asked Rich to develop the evacuation checklist for consideration in this meeting to decide what the next steps would be to get this published with a twofold purpose, one being education, and the other, of course, is preparedness, right? Have I said that right, Rich?
Yeah, basically it just follows the Ready, Set, Go program. And
Okay.
it gives you some guidelines to work off of. We can play with those, add more to them or take more away. But it just gives you a guideline and it's an easy way for us to get out information. It'd be easy to print up front and back and put them at the post office or wherever so people can have some idea what they need to do.
Okay.
But you can see that section there is the Ready, Set, Go. We can add a little bit in there or take some out. I just didn't want to make it real big. And I did put in there peak alerts on several places so people remember to sign up for it. And right now, that's our best notification system.
Rich, did you take this from other publications that are already out there, or is this something you developed on your own?
Yeah, some of it is, and some of it we had talked about, like, review the evacuation plan. So I just stuck those things in that applied strictly to us. But biggest part of it's just what's on all the other plans in the world.
The reason for asking that is I'm trying to figure out what is the recommendation you would make in terms of making this available to the public, our residents and homeowners and all the stakeholders in Green Mountain Falls, so that it's readily accessible and they know about it and they're actually doing something. How do you think is the most effective way to get this out, and what should we be?
Basically, I made this as cheap as I could. So basically all we'd have to do is make this sheet front and back, and we could leave them at the post office or around town or whatever without going to a lot of expense trying to print up a fancy large document. It's just a quick information thing for people to grab at the post office, gives them something to take home and read over it, and gives them some idea what to do, how to get ready, how to respond to evacuation orders, and how to go. I mean, how to get out.
Okay.
One comment about the post office real quick. When I was doing the census for the town, they wouldn't even let me leave census brochures there, and that's a federal program. So I don't think we're gonna have much luck leaving a pile of anything at the post office. She's pretty strict about all that.
Yeah. Huh.
But I don't
Well,
know.
that takes that idea out.
I mean, we can ask again. I'm just saying what I experienced with the census brochures. I mean, she was very adamant that nothing was to be left for even that program, and so I was kind of
Okay.
surprised, but that's how it was.
So we have a board there on the
Yeah.
wall.
Yeah,
Is
we
there
do.
to put a like a holder, that you can just put the paper, the documents in it? I mean, maybe not like on her counter, but is there ability to utilize that space if that's ours to use?
I can ask again. But I was talking about, when you walk into the post office, right on the left, there's that table.
Yeah, there's a table right there.
There's some post office handouts there for like moving or whatever. And that's where I wanted to put the census stuff, not even in her main counter area.
Right.
And she wasn't having that, but
Well, maybe
we can ask
mount
again and just see if there's any alternative ideas down there.
Well, don't they have the Mountain Jackpot little newspaper there on that table most of the time?
No, they have outdoor things for the newspapers.
But there's also a lot of times Mountain Jackpot newspapers sitting on that table there. That same table, you know where I'm talking about?
Yeah, I don't think they last there very long. I have seen them there, but
well, maybe we can mount something on our display case.
Yeah,
I mean,
either that or we can, I'll even sit down there a couple days and hand some out.
that's a good idea.
you could do that. Yeah, be outside.
Yeah, so I mean, there's nothing she can do about me being outside handing them out.
Yeah.
Well, as I said earlier, we're going to jump around in this agenda a little bit. One of the things that that's coming up during Greenbox is the mayor's forum. And I don't know if any of you have ever attended the mayor's forum during Greenbox. It is an opportunity for people to assemble and, have the mayor give us sort of a state of the union of the town, address any issues, questions. But the mayor's forum this year is going to be expanded to, is it 2 hours, Todd? You're doing an hour and Fire Mitigation is doing an hour. Have I got that right?
I'd have to look on it again. I can't remember, but I know I'm signed up for whatever it is.
Okay, so
Hour, 2 hours.
we're gonna be sharing the stage with you. I don't know if it's the beginning or the end or what, but we all, as Fire Mitigation Advisory Committee members, should plan to be there if at all possible for that mayor's forum, because we're going to make a presentation, which is in the works right at the moment. But it would be helpful to have all of you available so we can give people information such as this. If we had copies of this document that Rich has put together as part of the collaterals that we can give people as a takeaway and talk to them about it during that mayor's forum, I think that would be a great place to distribute this. And so if this is, I think the first thing is to decide, is this the document? Is this what we want to have printed up? How is it going to get printed up? Is this something that needs to be presented to the Board of Trustees for approval? And, how many copies do we need to get printed, and who's going to do that?
I have a question. Do we have emails for most of the people in town?
I have no idea, Nate. That would be something you could maybe answer.
And the other question, I asked if we had emails for most of the people in town. And then the other question I had is, when is that mayor's forum? Because I'm going to be out of town in July. I just don't know when this would be done.
No, I don't have the date for the forum. Do you have it, Todd?
Greenbox ends July 4th.
Yeah, I was thinking it was on July the 4th, but I'm not sure. I was thinking at least that weekend, 3rd or 4th.
Okay, I'll still be here then.
And no, we don't have emails for the town. We don't even have phone numbers. The only contact info we have, other than people who contact us, are what you would get as far as mailing addresses from the county assessor. And that's only owners. That doesn't even cover renters.
Could we put them in people's post office boxes?
No.
Mail them to them?
No, we don't. I mean, we could mail them, but we'd have to pay regular postage. But no, we can't insert things directly into that. That was another question I asked when I was doing the census.
Okay.
Wouldn't you get a bulk rate?
Well,
I did. We got a bulk rate for the census. It helped a little bit.
I don't see it on the schedule for Greenbox. I know it's scheduled. I can't find it.
I don't leave until the 6th of July, so I'll be good.
Okay. All right. I'll get the date and send it out later. But it also brings to mind, Rich, the whole issue of educating and helping people to understand, which was one of the big topics that we had in our last meeting. And I think this is going to be a forum to help provide information to people about resources that are available. Hopefully by then we'll have some volunteer opportunities, groups put together to inform people on what's available to help in the fuels mitigation and what they can do on their own private property.
Yeah.
So
Is there, let's go to this. Is this form something that you guys want? Does this look like something you would need, or do you need to change it, or I don't know.
Dan, any thoughts on this?
I think it looks pretty comprehensive.
Okay.
I would like to see a refrigerator magnet of this, but it might be too much information for a refrigerator magnet, and the magnet might be too expensive.
Yeah. That would be nice, but I'm afraid it's going to be costly.
Yeah.
But you know, if this is something that looks like we could use, then we could just make a copy of it, have ready, set, go on one side, and then the prep on the other side. Just make one copy, and I could run it up to someplace and get some copies made.
Okay. Todd, is this something that the Board of Trustees needs to approve?
You know, I'd like to say not necessarily. Nate, do you know, did the board approve what we actually posted on the website?
You mean the evacuation plan or?
Yeah, under all the fire mitigation info, did the board approve that? I didn't think they actually approved.
No, not all of it. It was the evacuation plan they did, I think, but
Okay.
not everything that's out there.
Yeah, my personal thoughts are, you know, informational type stuff. To me would be more than okay to have the fire mitigation committee go ahead and distribute. But Nate, I'm gonna have to ask you on if, in your experience on this, if this is thing, since it's representing town, are we gonna have to pass it through do you think we'd have to pass it through the board?
I don't know. I guess with the previous administration, it was kind of like they at least needed to be reviewed by the manager just to, you know, make sure there was nothing controversial, but I don't think any of this is controversial. Maybe controversial isn't the right word, but just for accuracy and for, I guess, you know, proper town representation or whatever. But I don't think it necessarily needs to be approved by the board.
Yeah, I kind of like just having the thought of having Becky just kind of look over it before it gets distributed. And then, you know, when we write up these master plans, this type of you know, the informational type items, you know, if it's listed in the master plan that the fire mitigation committee can create and distribute the informational material in town, and then the board then approves that plan, then the fire mitigation committee is pretty much green lighted at that point to distribute information. But since we don't have that quite just yet, we probably ought to at least have Becky, you know, review it, and if she's okay with it, I'm pretty sure the new board would just pretty much rubber stamp it and go on.
Well, my thought is, it seems like there is a level of enthusiasm, we'll call it enthusiasm, in Green Mountain Falls right now. There's a lot being posted on Facebook and different venues. There seems to be a lot of interest as indicated by the Sally Bush thing. People are, I don't know if they're scared but there's a lot of interest in fire mitigation. And we've got the Green Box forum coming up. It just seems like we have a window of opportunity to really put some information in front of people. And I you know, if we post this on the website, if we have printed collateral material available for the mayor's forum, I just think we have in the very short term here in the next month or so, opportunities to reinforce all the things that need to be done by the residents to be be ready in the event that we are under a wildfire situation. So, I kind of like to get everybody to, tonight we need to agree or disagree on this and advance this forward in terms of how we're going to use it.
If we have Becky's approval on this, could we put it on that Facebook page?
Yeah. I mean, once this is approved, I think once the Fire Mitigation Committee settles on what this document should look like, it could be a two-sided PDF that can easily be printed out by the town or posted on the website and Facebook for anyone to print out. I don't think it really needs to be board approved. I think we just kind of review it as staff and make sure, there's no whatever glaring omissions or anything like that. But I don't see why we couldn't just post it.
Yeah, Nate, I the more I'm thinking about it, the more I like that path of just pass it through staff, and at that point it's informational material, and I see no reason why we can't publish it in whatever mechanism we desire.
Rich, you're the author of this document. Are you proposing this document for publication as is?
Well, I'd like you to review it, correct any mistakes or anything, or see if you had anything you wanted to add to it.
The question that
sure
comes to
there's
mind
mistakes.
first is, I think everywhere that you say, for example, ensure you have registered your phone number for emergency notifications, and then you have in large letters, peak alerts. Do we need to tell people how to do that?
I'm sorry, Dave, I didn't hear you.
Do we need to tell people how?
You mean
It's one thing to say that you need to do this, but to tell them how to do it. Do we need to do that?
You mean as far as like peak alerts and something like that?
Yes.
It's easy to embed a hyperlink there for the electronic PDF version of it.
Yeah, that wouldn't be a bad idea. If you put peak alerts on your computer, it automatically comes up.
Okay.
Is there some way you can embed a QR code into it?
I don't know how to do that, but I mean,
Yeah, if there's a hyperlink or something you can add there.
Hyperlink's very easy.
Is it?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
We already have it just takes you to the home page of that peak alert thing, peak alert page, and then it basically explains the steps to do it from there.
Yeah, it's pretty easy. You can do it on your phone, you can do it on your computer.
Well, I think that's a really critical piece of this is also telling people or giving them the link that allows them to actually do this, as opposed to telling them they need to do it.
I agree. There'll be some.
Oh, you muted again, Kelly.
Sorry. There'll be some people, some of the older folks that may not know what to do. So if we're very specific, it'll make it easier.
Yeah.
Yeah, if you put a hyperlink there, I think that would probably work. And then Greenbox, you might be able to get somebody from E911 to even come up for that. And have either handouts or explain peak alerts or whatever. But both Teller County and El Paso County use the same system.
Well, that's one of the reasons I'd like to have this printed material available so we could give it to people and have you all stationed at various areas where, as people get up to leave, they could stop by and that would be an opportunity to answer questions, but to say, here's what you need to do. Here's how you do it. Here's this pamphlet tells you all the stuff you need to do to get ready. Here's how you register for peak alerts and all those kind of things.
I looked at that preparedness plan that you wrote up, Rich, and
Yeah.
it looked really good. The only thing I didn't see on there, and it came up last week at Sally Bush, and I didn't hear the answer. Somebody asked something about propane, and I couldn't hear what the answer was to that. But is there something we should be doing with propane if we're going to be
Yeah, you
evacuated?
basically just shut the gas off is it. And things you should do for your propane tank is make sure you clean out around it. There's no impingement on the tank. And then you just turn the propane off, just like you would do with natural gas. I didn't put a whole lot of that in here.
I wasn't
Just
sure if they were talking about the propane tanks on the gas grills,
No,
like the
well,
barbecue
they
grills,
were
or
talking about both. There's some people in town that have propane tanks for their house.
okay.
So they were talking about those, cleaning up around in them, and if we had a fire, shut those off. If you had propane tanks like on your deck for your grill or your propane heater on your deck, then you would turn those off, disconnect them, and set them out in the middle of the yard, away from the house.
Okay.
But I didn't want to get in because you can go into real in-depth stuff on here. And I just tried to make a handout so people would have some idea where to go and what to do. And that's kind of the Ready, Set, Go. You can make elaborate stuff for the Ready, Set, Go program, and there's a lot of it out there. But I just tried to make something that we could just hand out, and it gives them some idea of what they need to do.
No, I thought
I-
it was good. Even if it just gets that conversation started in your family, you know, if this happens, where do we meet? Where do we go? Who do we go? You know, I
Yeah.
thought it was well thought out.
Because there's just a lot of confusion about evacuation, about, what I do. Do I do this? Do I do that? What I take it? I tried to keep it as simple as possible and get you talking about it and thinking about it. You can make this really in depth where it just gets way too long for a simple handout. Then it goes into a brochure, a trifold brochure or something you can do.
Okay, so do you want to do any further edits to this, Rich, or do you want to propose this for adoption and posting to the website tonight?
If no one has any further editing they'd like to do, I'm okay with it. I hate to say it's the best, but it's something for thought, and it's something that gives everybody some information.
Okay.
Do you want to
if you
add
see-
that? Do you want to add
if
that
any-
URL hyperlink?
Yes.
Yeah,
Yeah, I can do that, and I can link to the evacuation plan and kind
Yeah.
of just standardize the fonts and stuff like that, and just
yeah, that'd be great.
Carolyn just made a comment that she would like to read it, and I assume that means you'd like to in reading it, edit it. Is that right, Carolyn?
Well, this is just the first time I've seen it, and I didn't even realize it existed. And I mean, I'm not a member of the committee or anything, but I just I thought it might. I could take a couple of days to read it over, not hold it up or anything. Would you be open to that, Rich?
That's fine with me. Just be careful about your changes. Don't try to change any descriptive nature. I mean, fonts and language and all that's just fine.
Well,
but-
any changes I would run by you, of course, and get your
Yeah,
approval.
that's fine with me.
Thank you.
So, Rich, do you want to make a motion that we adopt this subject to Carolyn's
Proofreading it.
editing it, and I guess we can't review it as a committee. by email, but that would constitute a
I would make a meeting.
meeting. So my thought would be if Carolyn edits it and sends it to you, Rich, and it in that final form is acceptable to you as the original author,
Okay.
then by the end of this week, you could turn it over to Nate for posting on the website, and we could develop some plan for printing some number of these. I don't know if there's a budget for that or not, or if we just want to run some copies on the copier at Town Hall.
Yeah, I think we could do that. Like safely say we could run, a couple hundred copies or something to prepare for whatever you want, the
Yeah,
green box.
that'd be plenty. It gives you some to hand out at Green Box or the post office or wherever.
Okay.
Now, what you're
All right.
saying, David, is after I review this, just go ahead and have Nate do his thing with it.
Yep. Carolyn's going to do a review. She's going to send you whatever edits that she sees. If you approve it, you send it to Nate and say, this is good to go. Does that work for everybody?
Yeah, she can send it both to Nate and I, can't she?
Yep.
Okay, so if she
Send
sends
it
it to
both to
Nate and
him?
I just have to tell Nate, go with it.
Yep.
Wait a minute. I didn't hear that. You said I can send it to both you, Rich, and who else?
Nate.
Nate Scott.
I know Nate Scott, but I just, Rich, you may read it over and see something that you don't like.
Well, if there's something there, I can it's on a Word document and it's not protected.
Okay, fine.
So I can either change it back or whatever.
All right. Okay, I'll
But-
send it to both you and Nate. I
Yeah, I'll
really
look
don't
at
think,
it before I tell Nate to go with it.
okay, I really don't want to make any changes. So I just
Yeah.
want to read it over.
It might just be, font or whatever, but be real careful about making changes to the wording so the people are getting the right word is all
Right.
I'm concerned about.
Definitely. Definitely.
Okay,
Okay.
fine with
Moving
me.
on. So we need a motion and a vote.
So moved.
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay. I think we have a game plan. All right, let's move on here on our agenda. Nate, what's next?
I guess the co-swap update. So I guess that's me for the most part, but I've been talking to several property owners up there on Mountain and Hondo, and even kind of that little Rock Street area. And I have several access points identified and staging points for equipment and trucks and everything, and have several signed agreements at this point. And next week I will go up there, meet further with Mike, and walk the area again and put some stakes down to better delineate the property boundaries, meet with Kelly to delineate her or the use of her property, where just basically protecting her septic area and things like that. And then on, let me get my calendar up here. Meeting with Olympia again. David, I think I sent you that invite.
You did. Unfortunately, I'm not going to be there until the 14th. And so
Okay.
I didn't know what the scope is for the 13th meeting. If that's going to be another walk like we did, what was it, a couple of months ago?
Yeah, essentially, except she just wants to, I'll show them all the access points, all the different, ingress, egress routes, talk through some of those things. There were a couple of concerns that just, the property owners had, just to make sure that, certain things weren't disturbed or whatever. So just going through all that. Oh, here it is. That Friday, May 13th. And I invited Don Walker from the PRT because he had the interest in sort of heading up the volunteer effort for fuel removal. But the Olympia wants me to have everything kind of staked out a little bit better as far as property boundaries. So that's all very clear. So it's basically just a walkthrough of all those points and making sure everyone's on the same page with that. Probably talking through logistics of signage and what kind of signs Mile High can provide, and what kind of closure gate that the PRT was talking about to actually have on the trailhead, or not on the trailhead, but on the kind of the entry to Thomas there, where it goes up from the Kirkpatrick, I guess it is technically, or whatever. But so just a more detailed walkthrough and an introduction to all the access points.
When are they actually going to start the work?
May 24th.
And are we going to have a meeting on the day they start?
Yeah, we'll go through all that at the 13th meeting as well. But I suspect that I will basically, I'm assuming Olympia will be there as their project coordinator, but I will also be there to show them, guide them through essentially whatever access point they want to start at for the first time, and just review the prescription that David, the forester, put together for us, and just make sure everyone's on the same page with that. And
so they had said that they wanted to have a representative on site for the first week every day to make sure that, or so have somebody oversee and sort of sign off on the work being carried out as per David's prescription.
Right.
Are they still wanting that?
I think the intent is just for me as the project manager on our side to check in with them, and particularly that first and second week, just to make sure that I guess that prescription's being followed.
Well, so I have a question for our committee and for you. Do you want our involvement to help or assist in any way in that first week? And are any of our committee members going to be available to help during that first week?
I know I talked a little bit with Dan about being there that first day, but I don't know if that's still possible. I don't know. I don't know how much involvement is needed, to be honest. I mean, but I'm not.
Well, you've got two absolute experts in Rich and Dan.
Yeah.
And it'd be a shame to leave them out if they could bring value to the beginning of this project. So, I just wanted to make sure we explore that fully tonight, and have the opportunity to have their involvement or not.
Sure. I'm not.
Yeah, I've got it on my calendar for the first day, 8:30 to 10:30.
Yeah.
That's a work day for me, so I'll kind of be there in a unofficial, official county capacity. But
Okay.
it's in the county, so it's not a huge deal.
Is
All
that
right,
May
well,
13th?
Are we talking about the 13th or the 24th?
The 24th is what The 24th is what we're really talking about here as far as our involvement.
And I'll be here because they'll be coming through my yard.
Yeah. So Dan, you can do that 24th?
Yeah, I'll make it happen.
Okay. All right.
I'll put the coffee on.
Nice.
Well, I'll be there as well, Nate. So during that week, I think I'm there until the 28th or 29th, something like that. So if you need me to be involved, I'll be there in town.
Okay.
That's my 24th anniversary, so I probably won't be there.
Okay. Well, we have to be careful that we don't all show up, because then we'd be having a meeting in the Fire Mitigation Advisory Committee.
That's
So-
right.
Didn't he say that if we had beers, then it would be fine?
Oh,
Just
that's
don't
right.
talk
Yeah.
shop. Yeah, just
Yeah.
don't talk shop.
That's what I heard.
I think some of the most important, I think maybe an important person, I'll reach out to him as well as Don, because if he's the one sort of heading up these volunteer groups, I think it's going to be important to talk through with the crew exactly how things are being cut, how what's the largest, piece that could realistically be carried down by whatever equipment that we have, and just logistics about that. And so I'll invite Don as well, and maybe that, that way we can talk with him and the crew leader and kind of get everyone on the same page about kind of the actual logistical process of how the cutting is going to go, where it's going to start, how, the expected size of the fuel left behind, and where they should try to maybe gather it, if that makes sense or not. But I think as long as they understand the prescription and the different species of trees, because the prescription is pretty specific to certain species, and particularly the mistletoe, that's pretty easy to spot. I can help with that, but I'll also reach out to David Paletti and see if maybe he can be involved that first day as well.
Okay.
Now,
Well,
are
he
you
had
going
says-
to want, I'm sorry,
Go ahead, Kelly.
are you going to want the information, or should I get a hold of Matt Whitfield? He's the guy that's in charge of the firewood ministry that would be removing a lot of that, and helping us out. They'll even take down, like I've got trees in my yard that should come down, and they'll come do that for nothing, because what they do is when they remove the firewood, they cut it and split it and deliver it to people over the winter that need firewood for free. Do you want his information? Do you want me to have him get in contact with any of you, or how do you want to do that?
Yeah, you might as well. You can send me that information. I guess the way we've written up the agreements so far with the landowners is that basically the people that would be going through would be either the Mile High Youth Corps or town volunteers. So I just don't, if we start adding other groups of people going through people's property, I just don't want that. But they might be a good resource to collect it once it's at the street. Once fuel is moved down to these collection spots, then that could be a great help to get some of that. There's going to be so much. There's going to be more wood than anyone knows what to do with. So I think that might be a good resource to certainly haul out some of the fuel. So yeah, if you want to send me that info, I can hopefully get them in the mix somehow.
Do you want me to put that in the chat?
Sure, that's fine.
Okay.
Okay. So we're on schedule and we're for sure getting 12 weeks of work from under the contract, right?
Yeah, and that other 3 weeks is still haven't heard back for sure on that. So
Okay. All righty. Was there anything that came out of the April 26th meeting that the Fire Mitigation Advisory Committee should be aware of as an, to take some action on? Were there things that people wanted or requested or ideas that should be taken up by the Fire Mitigation Advisory Committee?
None that I can recall.
Okay.
I'm trying to think. I can't think of anything, any major specifics.
In that meeting, so did we have David there?
Yeah, David Paletti spoke and Olympia spoke and Dan spoke and Adrian and David had tables set up in the back of the room. They had brochures there and there were quite a few people that were signing up for, it looked like with Adrian to talk about their own properties.
Okay. I saw on Facebook a post that somebody, I don't remember their name now, Lamar showed it to me the other day, who had been doing some work on their own, property, and said, what do I do with all of the, all of these limbs and brush that I've cut? And we've enclosed, as part of our package tonight, the chipper schedule that's available through the fire district. So I guess what I'm asking is, during that meeting, did people ask, do we have any plans to have a chipper available?
No, but there was a general question about what do I do with all this stuff that I cut, and I don't think anyone really had a great answer. I'm not even sure where to take limbs and things, but so yeah, that's something that we should probably research and post. I don't know. If someone on here, does anyone on here know? I've never had to do that. I had a dumpster once and I did a bunch of cutting and I just threw all my stuff in the regular dumpster that I already had for some other house project. So that's kind of how I took care of it, but I don't know where I would haul stuff if I needed to.
Nate, there is a place down in the Springs, and the name escapes me. I'd have to look it up, but I've taken stuff there. But what I was kind of hoping is that we could set up dates, maybe to have something town-wide. Where
Well, did anybody look at this document that's in the package? Because the way I read it is the fire district will make their equipment and an operator available, and they will basically go around town to ship stuff, at people's house, if I understood that correctly.
Yeah, but
That's how I read it also. And it sounded like there was a way to stack it and not to stack it and all that. It was pretty specific.
Yeah, that's Woodland Park owns that chipper. And what they're required to do is send somebody up there to get trained on it. And then have specific dates where you drag it around behind a truck and you do the chipping. I'm not sure if the fire department's going to do that or if they were expecting us to do that. But that chippers can be used on specific dates only. So we'd have to specify the dates we need it.
And what I was hoping for was something a little more encompassing, because if I understood that right, the chipper.
The town does have a chipper. And as far as I know, it still works. And they did have, spring and fall last year, I believe, they did have dates where they had chipping for the residents to bring it down near the park there across the street in that big parking area.
Yeah,
And they
what
were
I was-
chipping it right into the dump truck there.
Yeah, what I was hoping for was something a little bit more than just chipping, where folks could, we'd have a dumpster and folks could bring down like pine needles and just any kind of yard waste. You know, that's what they take down in the springs. My understanding on the chipper,
Yeah.
it's not like there's certain things that they do not take. So yeah, I was kind of hoping we could have a dumpster day or something in the not too distant.
They did have cleanup days where you could pretty much put anything or everything in them down by the lake. If you're gonna do specific to yard waste and stuff, you're probably gonna have to have somebody down there to keep an eye on it, because you'll end up with everything in the world in that dumpster.
Yeah.
Doesn't Teller County Waste, I think it's Teller County Waste, don't they have a slash program where you can bring all that stuff up to them?
They do have a program up there. And
I can check with them and see.
they do have a program up there, and it's open on certain days. I just don't remember when.
I would be
So-
happy to check that if you'd like.
Well,
Yeah,
the
that'd be
issue,
fine.
the issue that I personally have is I have no way to transport yard waste. I mean, I'm not going to throw my stuff into the back of my 4Runner and haul it up to Woodland Park. You know, I would think that we have a lot of people like that in town that, you know, they just don't have the ability. So what I would be interested in pursuing is if we do have a town-owned chipper, we need to set up some sort of schedule that people know they can bring their stuff and get it chipped in town. Or we utilize something like the fire district or CUSP on a set schedule so that we can publicize it and let people know you can bring your yard waste here. It'll be processed and you're done with it. But we just need to have a schedule rather than, I mean, I'm sure there are a lot of places to take stuff, but I think we want to try to make it as easy as possible to really encourage people to do some work and clean up their yard.
Well, Todd, to address where you were talking about in the Springs, there's a place called Rocky Top down in the Springs. And if you take a load on a Saturday, if you're a homeowner, not a contractor, it's $5 a load. And Kelly, not to dissuade you from looking into the prices at Teller County Waste, but when I called them, they were charging $70 a load. So it was a lot cheaper, obviously, to go down the Springs and take it to Rocky Top. But you could check into it and see if there's another program that they weren't aware of at the time when I called them.
That's a big difference.
Yeah. It was kind of an insulting difference. It was almost one of those I wanted to call them back and ask them if they were crazy or not.
So this is Teller County Waste or Waste Management?
That was the transfer station up in Divide.
Yeah, there's another area up there behind the transfer station where they do chipping. And I don't think it has anything to do with the transfer station. If you take it to the transfer station, it's extremely expensive.
Yeah, and that's what I'm talking about. But Rocky Top, if you take it on a Saturday, it was per load. For me, it was a truck bed full, and it could be a heaping load. It wasn't one of those truck loads where it had to just be at the bed rails, and it was $5 a load. So,
yeah, last year when I did my cleanup, they didn't have a chipper day up here, so I took mine down to Rocky Top, and it was no big problem.
Yeah.
Of course, I have a truck, so.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I would, my understanding on the town chippers that the blades would have to get sharpened before it could actually be effectively used. And so, you know, if there's another alternative like what's been, put in.
Anybody get that? I'm having a real hard time hearing Todd at all.
Okay, how about now?
That's a little better.
A little bit better. I've got a headset on. I'm hollering feel like I'm hollering in the microphone anyway. But the town chipper, my understanding on that is the blades have to be sharpened. And so you might want to, until we'd actually get the equipment in a to where we can use it, you probably want to explore the other option that's contained in the packet.
So let me try to pose a simple question. Am I hearing everybody say that it would be best to just tell residents or give residents a list of places they can haul their waste and let it be up to them whenever they want to do it? As opposed to having a chipper in town for people to be able to bring their stuff to?
I think a combination of both. I mean, if because we can't be chipping 365 days a year. So if people can't make those chipper days, you know, maybe their option would be to know where to take their slash on days if they can't make a chipper day. So I would say a combination of all of the above, and definitely wouldn't recommend one, you know, private industry over another.
Okay. So one thing to communicate to people would be, here's a list of places you can take your yard waste to dispose of it. And perhaps another solution would be to say, we're going to establish chipper days. We'll just say once a quarter, so 4 times a year in town. And here are the dates that our chipper is going to be there. You know, you can plan your yard work around that and bring it down and get it chipped. Is that something we should pursue?
Yes. I
I
mean,
believe ideally that would be the way to go about it, is have planned dates. And rain or shine, it's a planned date.
Yeah. Okay.
It might cost the town a little bit in overtime, but I think the only thing they need town-wise is their dump truck, the splitter, the chipper, and one employee to run the chipper. I don't know that, I think volunteers could probably feed the chipper.
Okay. Todd, how would we go about trying to organize something using the town chipper? Would that just be working together with Becky, or what would be a way to get a plan of action together?
I would say start working with town staff, and you know, like I was saying before, our chipper, the blades probably have to be sharpened. So I would actually recommend trying to plan it around this other option with that, you know, the one from up in Woodland Park.
Okay.
You know, because you know, if we've got, I don't know if the guys down here have the tools to actually sharpen the blades in it, or if it's got to be sent out. If it's got to be sent out, then we're probably looking at a much longer term. But I would say start with Becky with a you know, basically a proposal. Say, here's what we'd like to do with the proposed dates on it, and then I would really like to have the situation where we have things in plans to where we can send things on through. That one may need board approval.
Okay, so Becky is the person who sent me the fire district chipper brochure. So she's sort of already tuned in and plugged in. So I'm going to talk directly with Becky about this and see what we can organize.
Yeah, that's what I'd recommend. Like I say, we get with town staff initially. Something like this may go through a kind of a what I call rubber stamp exercise with the board, but
Okay.
they may want to have board approval on something that's basically townwide, and especially if we're potentially looking at volunteers and whatnot. And do we have to have any kind of special training for them or anything?
Okay. I'm going to take that as an action item for myself to get with Becky and see if we can come up with some straw man kind of program for chipping. Okay. So we have, I guess, Todd, first of all, this came to us in a roundabout way. I know the Historic Green Mountain Falls Foundation is doing a survey, an architectural survey in town. And I think that the involvement came through the planning committee, and somehow it made its way to us about whether or not the fire mitigation committee would like to have some sort of survey done simultaneously regarding a fire home assessment. Where does that stand? Is that something that's still an option for us?
I'm not sure on the status on the people going around doing the survey. I thought I saw them out doing it already.
Yeah, they've already done my street.
Okay, so that's already come and gone. Okay.
Yeah, I think it has, but we'd have to get with Jesse for sure.
Okay, well, Dan had put together this rapid fire home assessment that's included in the packet for that purpose. But because of our delays in getting back to this, just having trouble getting meetings done, I guess we missed the window of opportunity. But Dan put together a very simple checklist where when they did the survey of the home, they could do a quick look at these 5 items or 4 items, I can't remember which it is, just to do a quick survey. And this is probably.
Could I add something?
Yeah.
They were here. They were in Green Mountain Falls, I guess, last month. They've completed, I think, their survey, and a lot of that was taking pictures, I think, and notes. And I think from the information they got, they might have been able to have collected a lot of this information that Dan has here, because they would have taken pictures and taken notes of what's on it. And I guess they're in the stage now where they're drawing up their report, but it's very possible that they have a lot of this information. But Jesse would be the one to talk to about that.
Well, they were just taking pictures from the street. Some of this you probably wouldn't be able to figure out, like gutters and things of that nature.
Yeah.
Well, it would be another whole layer of work for them to go back through, look at the pictures, decipher what they're looking at, record it on this sheet, and come up with anything that was meaningful. So, all right. Well, I think we've missed a boat on that.
Yeah, but there might not totally miss the boat. We might still be able to use this and as a handout for the homeowners.
Well, that's a good point, Rich. So we're trying to assemble.
We may not totally miss the boat. We can always hand this out and say,
"Yep,
check these things on your property."
Yep, I agree. Okay, well, I'm trying to put together the program, and so I'm really interested in what was already done on the April 26th meeting, and just trying to put together collateral materials like this for the mayor's forum. So that's a good idea. We could include this along with the being prepared. Okay. What's next on our list, Nate? Firewise. Okay. I think the last time I was there, I spent some time talking to Rich and Dan. I can't remember which one of you told me that Green Mountain Falls has a sign as you enter the town that says we're a Firewise community. And I think that I saw that sign. Does anybody know whether or not we really are a Firewise community, or do we just have a sign that says we are?
What is a Firewise community?
Firewise is a national program that has specific guidelines to become certified as a Firewise community. And if you meet the standards, we'll call it, to be certified, it can be used in a variety of ways. One would be it could affect your lowering your insurance rates for homeowners. It can be used in grant applications as a way to say that you're a proactive community. So I guess what I wanted to find out is, does anybody on this call know whether or not Green Mountain Falls is a Firewise certified town? Does anybody know about the program?
Very little, and I don't know if we're still certified. I believe it was Rich that you were talking to about that.
Yeah, the paperwork is still in place. So technically there is a CWPP, but it is not for just Green Mountain Falls. It's for the Ute Pass area. Steve Spalding still has the paperwork on it, as far as I know, down in Cascade.
But Rich, is that specific to Firewise, or is that for the CWPP?
They're basically one and the same. Firewise is a portion of CWPP. That's how you obtain that Firewise notification or certification. But they're all one and the same, and it's Green Mountain Falls per se doesn't have its own. It is part of the Ute Pass Firewise program. It probably needs to be redone, but it is still in place.
But Green Mountain Falls itself could be a Firewise town, independent of the CWPP. Is that correct?
Yes and no. It's complicated.
Yeah, I don't know.
For us, a small community to become itself a Firewise community, it's hard to do because they like to encompass a whole area. Once you do that, it's kind of like the Forest Service. They want to encompass more than just one home to, mitigate on. They want to encompass the whole block. Could you do it? Yeah, but you'd have to withdraw from the Ute Pass one and then start from ground zero and do your own.
Which would be a heavy, heavy lift.
Right.
It would be easier just to probably get involved in the CWPP as it is and try to get that committee back together, use what they have and rewrite it. Because when they did it, it was really cumbersome. I mean, it took, I bet 2 years at least.
What you're telling me is what's the guy's name in
Steve Spalding.
Steve Spalding. So
yeah,
what you're telling me is Steve Spalding to this day is doing the annual paperwork to keep our certification.
Keep it alive, yes.
And I have done some research on Firewise, and I can tell you from what I've read, if he is filing paperwork to be compliant with Firewise, he's making it up because it ain't happening.
There's probably no doubt in my mind.
I mean, it's a pretty comprehensive program that says basically you have your entire community involved. It involves so many hours of volunteer work, and
Yeah,
you have to show that people, people who,
particularly if you're applying for grants and stuff. If you're not applying for too much, or not applying for anything for that matter, it doesn't seem to affect anything. It is real comprehensive. At the time that started, there was probably 20, 25 people on that committee that formed that whole thing. And it was long and cumbersome. Dave Root, Forest Service, he was real involved in it. The U.S. Forest Service, Zanotto was involved in it, and it goes on and on and on. But I bet it took at least 2 years to get that all in place. And since it's in place, their thought was they don't want to take it out of place and start from square one.
right.
So they just submit the paperwork every year and keep it going, is my understanding.
So to circle back into what Todd said at the beginning of our meeting tonight, when he essentially challenged the Fire Mitigation Advisory Committee to develop a master plan. I'm not suggesting that the Fire Mitigation Advisory Committee take on recreating the CWPP and all that goes into that, but having a look at something like the Firewise program and letting that be the basis for education of people, and sort of having at least an informal way of getting people involved in doing the things that keep our community safer in protecting against wildfire. I mean, Todd, is that something like what you have in mind when you say a master plan, or what exactly do you have in mind?
Well, that might be a section. I'm thinking of something even more encompassing that could potentially include, potential grant money, potential code changes, community events, you name it. Pretty much blank sheet of paper, starting out with a master plan. That's why I'm really wanting to have it such that it's, we have a working session, a combined working session with the Fire Mitigation Committee and the board.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does. I'm just trying to figure out a way to structure that process to come up with that master plan, and what would be a good foundational basis for getting it going. And that's why I wanted to talk about Firewise, because when I first read what the program is, and then I realized that we have a sign up that says we're a Firewise community, I immediately said to myself, we're not doing any of those things. We say we are, but we're not.
And just so you know, David, that we're in the majority, it seems like, with a lot of the Firewise communities in the West. That's not unusual.
Yeah.
You can go into the, I think it's the state portal, and they will show every CWPP program within the state, and you can actually pull up that whole program. And UPasses is in there, and you can pull up everything on it.
Okay.
Because it has just a ton of information.
Okay, well, that I'm just trying to figure out how we move forward on developing this master plan. So I think it's something,
Hey, David,
yeah,
I think the first step would probably be to start gathering some dates with the fire mitigation committee that might work for a combined work session.
Yep.
And then we get to the combined work session, to me, the first step on something like that would be a brainstorming exercise.
Okay. What are you calling that? Dates for a what?
A combined work session.
Combined work session.
Because I know the board is actually getting together three times in May, and we're only having one scheduled meeting in June, and that's because several of us are going to be up in training second or third week of June.
Okay. And what do you envision in terms of who all would be in this work session? It would clearly be the Fire Mitigation Advisory Committee, but would it include board trustees and the mayor and town employees?
My opinion is on something like this is the more the merrier. And the reason I say that is because if you're doing brainstorming exercises, the more data points you can get, a lot of times you can get a more comprehensive, basic, at least straw man put together.
Okay. All right. Well, I know Dan is full-time employed, and during the week, I will be there most of this summer, and will be able to devote my time to something like that. Rich, I can't speak for Rich and what his time is, or Kelly for that matter. So we would have to decide whether or not we could do this during the day, or it would have to be an evening in order to have people involved.
Yeah, I would say start with fire mitigation committee and some dates and times that work best for you. And then we can get it in front of the board. We're going to actually have two working sessions on May 17th, a risk working session first, and then a prioritization working session on, immediately following, basically. And then from that, we're hoping to eventually develop basically priorities such that we can go in and do a priority-based budgeting for 2023.
And should we all be at that, Todd? At
Again,
May 17th? Okay.
well, the
And-
May 17th is for the board.
Okay.
That's for the board, and that's something that, it's an exercise I'm wanting the board to go through. Basically, what I'm envisioning is I'll draw up a 2-axis type thing and have people identify risk items and put them wherever they think they should be on a 2-axis thing, where it's basically a probability versus severity. And then once we get through with that, then go into immediately a kind of a prioritization brainstorming session. And then we just take the data at that point. We have to basically compile it with existing programs and whatnot, and then put it back in front of the board and maybe even the public and say, here's what we think the priorities are. Does everyone agree? Yes, no. If everyone agrees, then that's wonderful direction for town staff that they can run with.
Okay.
That being said, they will be public meetings, so anyone can attend and comment too.
So what is the position of the town now with regard to volunteer work? Because this committee has spent a lot of time identifying areas where we could potentially develop, town residents, teams of people to do work on a volunteer basis. And I know you had a discussion with Becky recently about rights of way and having volunteers work on town rights of way. So we've had a previous administration that basically the answer was no to virtually everything that we proposed as far as volunteers working on behalf of the town. What is the new administration's view on volunteers and organizing volunteers to work for the betterment of the town as it relates to fire mitigation?
Yeah, Nate, I'll take that one. We got clarification from CIRSA that volunteers, as far as liability wise, they are treated the same as town employees. They're considered the same as town employees. So liability wise, it's not an issue. Where it can be an issue, and we still have to have the forms right now, is if they get hurt while they're doing that, then they're effectively on their own. Now, we have some other options that we'd have to consider as a board. There would be additional insurance costs, but right at this point in time, they would still have to fill out the waiver in case they got hurt, because we wouldn't have any kind of workman's comp or anything like that. Having said that, one of the things I'm hoping to go over when we're in our training session, for the board on the 14th, is identifying if there's areas where we need any kind of specialized training or special certifications for volunteers. And the reason I say that, for like trail work, we always do a briefing before we ever go up on the mountain every day. And so every morning, when we're working on trails, we always have a briefing. We call it CUS. It's carry, use, safety, and I just dropped the last S, whatever that was. But anyway, we go through a briefing on how to use the tools and how to carry them up the mountain, because it makes a difference on how you carry them up. And so we really, for a town perspective, in my opinion, I think we need to kind of identify if we need any kind of specialized training or any kind of special certifications. Obviously, we don't want to hand, a road grader, for example, over to someone who's never operated a road grader. So, it's just that type of stuff. But right now, it seems like the door for volunteers is fairly wide.
I can add
Specifically, to that. Go ahead.
I talked with Becky today also, and CIRSA, we are covered with volunteers through CIRSA. However, I think the way Becky wants to structure it is a project-based volunteer system, so that, for instance, if we get a group of volunteers for fuel hauling out of the co-swap area, we need to create essentially job descriptions for each project that volunteers are to be working on. That way CIRSA can review those and determine if what is wanted to be done is actually covered by the insurance, or if the town has to pay for extra insurance. So we need to come up with specific projects that you want volunteers to work on and describe in detail what tasks are going to be completed, what equipment, if any, is going to be used, etc., so that they can be properly insured, essentially.
Yeah, Nate, I thought she's had something outside of just project work too, because the project was specific, and then I thought there was something else, and I was looking through my notes. I thought I write it down, and I'm having trouble finding it.
She just stressed to me that we need to have essentially volunteer job descriptions so that so people can sign up for specific tasks, specific projects, and have the appropriate insurance coverage for it.
Yeah.
Todd, you specifically sent me an email though about rights of way, and that Becky had an idea that we could use volunteers to clean up rights of way.
Yeah, that would
How would
probably,
you, how would you like this committee to move forward in trying to structure some sort of right of way, town right of way mitigation work with volunteers?
well, first you need to kind of just roughly identify what they would be doing, what kind of tools they would be using potentially. Again, if there's any kind of special training needed, and I'm just trying to think out loud here. And then
So
maybe
would that be
kind-
part of the master plan that you want then, is something that addresses town rights of way?
It can be, or, you know, we could try to work, like Nate was saying, kind of more of a separate project type thing where we identify, okay, here's volunteers, here's what we'd like for you to do. And then, you know, the master plan, you know, my thoughts on that, if we're going to be going through the exercises of, you know, working sessions and whatnot, you know, master plan is going to take a little bit of time. And to me, if we've got certain project type things that we can maybe work on ahead of actually having a full master plan, then we may want to consider doing that.
We got a whole bunch of people in town with chainsaws that are chomping at the bit to cut trees down. And I'm pretty sure Rich knows some of them and Dan knows some. I certainly do. You know, I'm just trying to figure out a way to get those people marshaled into a group and give them a scope of work and let them get after it.
Okay, so you know, if I would suggest then making a kind of a scope or a project list or something. Here's what would basically defining, here's what we'd like to do. But then we'd also have to look at, okay, we're wanting to use volunteers or we're wanting to hire things. You might want to specify that. If we're using volunteers, is there a special training required for each of those volunteers? And for specific tasks, you know, it's something that if you're just hauling things out and you're staying out of the way of the sawyers, okay, you know, if you're using a drag cloth or something to drag material around, okay, that doesn't take a lot of specialized training, but you still want to have enough training such that, you know, they're not getting in the way and not getting hurt. Then, you know, we got some tall trees. Are we going to have to have specialized equipment to go up and you know, take them down from like the top on down? You know, is there a size limit as far as the trunk size? What do you do with the materials? You know, it's just a basic plan. And, you know, if you want to try to draft something up and send it in, say, we'd like to propose that we do this with this group of volunteers, and here's the qualifications. And we'd like to work on some of the town right of ways. That would have to be analyzed, obviously, and then obviously go in front of the board.
Okay.
But I would actually maybe encourage that ahead of the master plan, because I think the master plan is going to take some time to actually get developed.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Well, there's no doubt the town has a lot of rights of way, undeveloped rights of way, snaking all through the town that desperately need fuels mitigation work. We've identified one, which is the Iona Scott rights of way. And CUSP is going to take care of that one. But, you know, I was looking at a town map the other day and I see rights of way all through the town. And I've had residents talk to me about it and say, you know, what is the town going to do about these particular rights of way? And the you know, the groups like CUSP or COSWAP grant, that's really not what they want to tackle. They want to tackle a landscape project as opposed to, you know, the small scale projects like rights of way. So that seems to be where a town volunteer group might be best suited.
Yeah. I've got no issues with using town volunteers as much as possible. We just need to make sure we do so in a manner such that we're not endangering them, more than what you might think they might be if they were out on their own property and cutting things down. And we do have to also keep in mind, we do have some overhead power lines and whatnot. So that would, that might be a little trickier situation.
Okay.
Because that might involve the utilities.
Dan, what's yours and Rich's thought in terms of putting together a group of volunteers to do something like that? Is that doable from your perspective? Do you think we have the people that we can recruit and have the skill set to do it?
Are you asking if I know people in town
Well,
or just people? Do I know people?
Just the concept in general. Do you think that it's a viable concept, or is it something that is not something we should tackle?
No, I think it's completely viable, and you're going to have a small amount of certified sawyers in your volunteer corps. Once you start breaking out the chainsaws, you kind of exponentially increase your risk, especially if you start falling trees with those saws. And those volunteers, I'm not going to say they can't be volunteers, but those volunteers probably need to be vetted. They need to make sure that they have some sort of faller certifications. But as far as people who are, removing biomass and doing that kind of work, absolutely. I mean, even so with the sawyers, just the sawyers will need to be vetted a little bit further, in my opinion.
Okay.
I chime in real quick. I think one of the concerns with those areas, right of ways and ingress, egress routes are the property boundaries. So one thing that staff can help with, like I did with Iona Scott, is send out letters to people saying, we want to focus on this area. Your property borders this area, and give them an option to basically a checklist or options to say, I'm not concerned if you cut some trees on my property, or I am concerned and I want to talk to somebody about it. Because the parcel lines that we have that we go off of are not extremely accurate. So that needs to be taken into account. So I'd suggest a prioritization of those right-of-way areas, and just to rank them in order of importance. And then we can kind of tackle those in order. But I do think if we're doing this volunteer job description, that could be, it's an overall one project with one description for volunteers to sign up for. But then we have the second part of it of prioritizing the areas and getting notification out to people and talking to the property owners who we need to talk to and flag the trees appropriately and all that stuff. So just a lot of logistics that the town staff should probably be involved in at the forefront of any cutting activities.
Okay.
And Nate,
But
just to double check, I haven't said anything contrary to what your understanding of situation is, have I?
Who, me? Nick?
Yeah, Nate, I haven't said anything contrary to your understanding of anything, have I?
No, I don't think so. No.
Okay. Just wanted to double check myself.
Okay. Have we covered our? One thing I wanted to ask on the mayor's forum, Dan and Rich, you both have told me that you've seen presentations that are very, have a very strong impact on the audience as it relates to wildfire? Can you be thinking of materials that we can use in our mayor's forum presentation that would be high impact visual images?
Sure. I mean, if the first of all, if the mayor's forum is a Sunday, I think it's
Yep.
Sunday, May 3rd.
Yep.
Yeah, I probably won't be able to attend that. I have to see if I can attend that in an official county capacity, because I work Sundays through Wednesdays.
Yep.
But as far as to answer your question, can we find maybe some visual aids to assist with the delivery of the message and the seriousness of it? Yeah, we could certainly get some. You get some pictures of the Paradise Fire and, before and after pictures of that, and that'll probably strike a chord with folks.
That's what I'd like, is something that's really, really high impact visually, where, it's just the old saying, a picture is worth 1,000 words. I don't want to speak 1,000 words. I want to show some pictures to people and scare the bejeebers out of them.
There's pictures out there that'll scare the bejeebers out of them.
Did you say Sunday, May 3rd?
July 3rd.
Oh,
All right,
July
July
3rd.
I'm sorry, I may have said May 3rd. I'm pretty tired. Sorry.
It would be really helpful if you could find any visual imagery that would help. I would really appreciate it.
I won't make it super graphic, but we can have some images that are impactful.
But then again, don't we have, and I would think that this would be helpful also. If I remember correctly, the fire that was here, it's got to be over 100 years ago now, I think, that started at the Broadmoor. Didn't it burn all the way to Salida?
No, it went to Wilkerson Pass.
It went to Wilkerson Pass?
Yeah.
But when you say that is so impactful to people that they understand just how extensive that could be if it were ever to start over here.
Well, the Hayman fire went from Lake George to Deckers.
Hmm?
The Hayman fire went from Lake George to Deckers.
Yep.
That's a big one.
Yep.
What fire are you referring to 100 years ago?
I just had heard that, if you look at old pictures of Green Mountain Falls, the mountains are pretty bare.
Mm-hmm.
And my understanding, and I may be mistaken about this, but my understanding was that it had started somewhere around the Broadmoor. And they couldn't control it.
And you said you think it was about 100 years ago?
It had to be close to that. Is it more than that, Rich?
Yeah,
You know which fire I'm talking about?
I know what you're talking about, but it didn't really have a name. It's not like the fires we have today where they give them names and stuff.
Okay.
So I had some information on that at one time, and I'm sure I don't have it anymore.
I'm curious. I'm going to look it up now and see if I can find some information on it.
Do we have anything that would show a canopy fire as opposed to a ground fire?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, there's all kinds of pictures out there.
That's the sort of stuff I'm looking for, is because what we want to get across to people is, if we've got to have a fire, we want it to stay on the ground. And the things that need to be done are to prevent a fire from getting into a canopy. And if people could see what a canopy fire looks like, they could fully understand why there won't be a town left if we have a canopy fire.
It looks like God is angry.
Real angry. That one down in New Mexico right now, I've been looking at some of the pictures of it. It's pretty bad fire.
Well, anything y'all could come up with that, will help tell that story, I sure would appreciate it.
Yeah, I mean, we can even do pictures that show like fire growth modeling, to show, hey, if something happened, say you had a fire that started in Manitou, and if it was in alignment being that the winds and the topography lined up, how quickly it could be at Woodland Park. There's fuel modeling and fire modeling that could, show that kind of stuff that I can maybe look up and see if we can do some modeling.
Yeah. Okay. Kelly, you were going to become our grants person. I'm going to ask you to do a specific thing for me.
Something changed, Dave. I ended up getting a job as a grant writer for Merit Academy.
Oh, really?
I didn't have a job when I said I would be happy to do that. I haven't started yet. In fact, I'm waiting to hear when I'm supposed to start.
Oh, okay. So you're not going to be our grants person. Okay. All righty.
Well, Kelly,
Yeah,
did you, not to jump in, but I know we talked a little bit about this. Did you say that you have access to a grant database? I know you said you wouldn't have time to actually write grants, but I thought you said you might have time to identify grants, perhaps.
Yeah, Gwen told me when they get that database that if I see anything on there for fire mitigation grants or anything like that, that I was welcome to share that with y'all.
Okay.
Okay. Nate, do you know if there is I know that when we apply for a grant with the Historic Green Mountain Falls Foundation, the town has to make the application. I mean, I can't go in on their portal and make an application, right?
Right. I think, I haven't even been on that portal yet. I think Becky has gained access to that, but I have not
I
personally
think that,
been in there.
I think you have to have some sort of an authorization code or something, and it's granted to the town. Is that right?
Yeah, that makes sense.
Okay. So is that another thing that I need to take up with Becky? Is access to the Historic Green Mountain Falls site or the Kirkpatrick Foundation site?
I mean, if you have, I can ask the question. Are you wondering if?
I just want to know how to get in and get I forget what they call it, but it's sort of an initial inquiry into making a grant application, because Jesse has basically said, y'all need to be putting in grant requests for every grant cycle we have, because you will get the money.
Yeah.
So I want to
So
know.
you want to get into their portal?
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. Yeah, I can ask if that is shareable, or how many people can do it, or what the process is. Yeah.
Okay, that would be helpful. I really want to get some action going on making requests to the Historic Green Mountain Falls Foundation for funding. Because a lot of things we've talked about tonight are have to be paid for in some way, sharpening blades for a chipper and, you know, things like that. So, you know, I would want to start looking for ways we can get funding for things that need to be done.
Sure. In one of the packets somewhat recently, I included a link to there's a grants database out there that you can peruse through. I haven't had much time to do it myself, but I'll try to dig that up and see if there's just at least share it with the group, and we can kind of, when people have time, we can search through that. Just one of those things, it's hard to find time for myself anyway, so.
Yeah, sure.
But I'll try to find that, and I know it was in one of our recent packets, so I'll share that with the group as well. And by the way, with emails and things, we can share information with the group, just so long as we're not continuing a conversation or, you know, talking business. You know, we can share information. We just can't carry on a conversation about it. So it's fine to do that.
Oh, okay. All right. So as far as action items from this meeting, particularly Dan and Rich, if y'all have any sort of presentational material that is high impact, if you could funnel it my way, I sure would appreciate it. Carolyn is going to do an edit review of the document that Rich prepared and circulate it. I mean, I guess based on what you said, she can circulate it back to all of us on the committee, right? Her edits, is that right, Nate?
Yeah, and we could each take, I mean, as long as there's not back and forth with the entire committee, she could certainly share the document with all of us and we could look at it individually. I think maybe Rich or myself should be the ones to sort of maybe gather all the suggested changes, and Rich and I could discuss or something, but yeah.
I don't expect it to be a radical change from what it is right now.
Yeah. And we're going to add a hyperlink to that, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Couple.
A technique for sending information out is where you have the email addresses, make sure those are in the BCC. And then what you can do is you can have, you know, if you got comments, you can have an individual collect the comments, and then you can maybe go over to, if there's that many comments. If there's not that many comments, obviously it just goes on out. But if there are comments coming back in, you can have that individual then bring that up at your next.
Okay. And then I have an action item to get with Becky with regard to chipper and sort of that whole conversation there about planned dates for a chipper, the various, you know, places we can get a chipper. Let's see here. And then getting ready for this mayor's forum that's coming up and organizing that a little bit better from where we are right now, and you know who can attend, what it is you'll be doing, and that sort of thing. So we've got a little time in front of us, and then the final thing that we need to do is decide on our next meeting date, which would be the 30th of May. is that a holiday? Is that Memorial Day?
Memorial Day weekend.
Is the 30th Memorial Day?
Yes.
Okay. Y'all want to meet on Memorial Day evening?
Yeah, I'm fine with that.
Okay. It's fine. It works for me. So if that works for everybody, let's plan on our next meeting being on the regular schedule of the last Monday of the month, which would be May 30th.
Hey, Nate, is that okay with you?
I was just trying to think. I'm going to be sort of, I've got a drone crew coming in to map the entire town that weekend. I think we'll be working on Memorial Day. The other, I would say, Todd, if you're going to attend, we could potentially just play that by ear in terms of hosting.
Yeah, that's well, and you know, I want to make sure that you know, there's the personnel items that kind of go along with working on a holiday. Want to make sure we're not you know, hitting any boundaries on that.
Yeah, as far as I'm salary, I'm not hourly, so I'm exempt
Okay.
from all that stuff. But I was just thinking of it just may be a long weekend for me with the drone crew here and stuff. But if you're planning on attending the meeting, then we can share Zoom access essentially, and then I can still do minutes later
Okay.
on or something if that's okay. But
Yeah,
we
right
we
now
could
I
play
should
that
be,
by ear.
yeah, right now I should be in town.
Okay.
And if that changes, I'll let folks know.
Okay.
Are we going to try to hold a hybrid meeting at the next one, or is it going to be remote only?
What would y'all prefer to do?
Yeah, I'm fine for either. I like the option of being able to meet in person.
Well,
I like Zoom.
Yeah, I'm going to be, I'm not going to be there on the 30th. I'm leaving to go back to Houston on the 29th. And we will be back up June 14th. So I just won't be there. So I'm going to have to attend by Zoom.
Yeah, Zoom works for me.
Are you
We
talking
can do
same
a
time?
hybrid, but
I'm fine with Zoom as well. I mean, it's not that important to me, but.
all right. So we're definite for the 30th. Is that right?
What time? Same time?
6:30.
7, 6. Is 6:30 or 7 better for everybody?
Probably 6:30.
6:30 is good for me.
All right, 6:30 then. Works for me. The only other action item that I have on my list is the May the 24th, that week, for anybody that's available to sort of pitch in and help Nate on managing the kickoff of the co-swap project. And Nate, you'll just, you know, let us know, keep us informed if there's something we can do, right?
Yes.
Okay. Anybody have any other issues that we need to discuss? All right. Well, thanks everybody for your hard work and input tonight. And let's get our stuff done and be ready for our next meeting in what is it, in 3 weeks, 4 weeks? May 30th.
Sounds good.
All right. Good night.
Right.
Good night.